Hi everyone, it's Laura, and today we are going to talk about lash retention. Yes, this is always the hot topic and it's something everybody wants to know about. So let's assume you are doing everything right. Your client is doing everything right. The environment is right, the adhesive right, everything right. Your dipping time, attaching time, it's all good. And then you still cannot figure out what is going on. Well, the one thing we seem to always find consistently, even with experienced lashers, is that the bases are not fully attached and fully aligned. If this is your lash and this is your extension and it's coming in, you'll see little gaps. You'll see the end is stuck out a little bit. You'll see maybe one is on top and it's curling in like this, especially if you're using a D or a CC curl. So this base is not fully attached. It has to be fully attached all the time, all the way around, no matter where you are placing that lash. One of the biggest things I have found over my years of lashing that people are doing wrong, why the bases are not getting fully attached, is their hand placement. This is huge. If you have improper hand placement and you're having good retention, you're lucky. If you're having bad retention, or you know it could be better retention, or when they come back you see, it's still stuck on but the base is not really attached, then this video is for you. Even if you have great retention, still watch this video because you need to have a lot of different tools in your toolbox in order to be a really good lasher. So while there are many different ways to lash and there are many different tips and techniques, there are some things that are traditional standards and the best way to get the best retention. And so when I teach, one of the things you will always hear me say is lead with the base, lead with the base, lead with the base. If you are not leading with the base when you go to apply that lash and place it on the natural lash, chances are your bases will not be aligned and will not be matched up. Another thing that I always say is work from behind the brows. Work from behind the brows, and that means your hands are always here, whether you're on this side or whether you rotate and you're over to this side. Your hand is always going to be behind their eyebrow. If you are working down here on their cheek, if you're working on the iPad, the chances of you having good retention are very low. And that's because if this is the natural lash, and let's say this is the curled extension, you're coming in from underneath, but not necessarily from underneath, but from on the face, on the cheek, on the iPad, you're coming in like this, and yes, you get that base attached, but not fully attached. Like that. Do you see the difference? So they're coming in, it's coming in, okay, it's attached. You might get the tip attached on the side, underneath, and that might look great and it might stay there as you're brushing it through, but within that 24 hours, a couple days, it's going to fall right off because you're only attaching this point of the base. It has to be fully attached. And you can see, you can't even see where one starts and the next tweezer begins. And that's exactly what you want to see. So I'm just going to demonstrate some ways to do that. So we have our little lash here. It's there. It's a 14 millimeter lash. It's the longest I had, so you can see it pretty well. So what I see happening is that people put their hands here and then they isolate and they come in like this. And it already hurts. So this is not a natural state for your wrist to be in. This, over time, if you have it like that, is going to hurt, and it hurts me right now. Your wrist should always be in its natural state, which is going as if you're shaking hands with someone. That is going to be natural. Bending it back like this so you can get in and down here or from down here is not good. Anytime your hand touches the iPad or their cheekbone or under their eye, that's considered improper hand placement, and you lessen your chance of having good retention. The most you could do is maybe your pinky on their temple or your wrist on their temple. And if by having your wrist and you rotate this tweezer up, it gives you all the room that you need. And what you can also do you see how this lash is straight? You can also rotate that lash so the base, when you're working on the right eye of the client, you can rotate that lash towards the right, the base towards the right, and then when you go to get the inner corner, it will automatically fit in. And sometimes I'll just loosen my grip a little bit on that lash, and then I'll just move it a little bit with the other one just to get it in perfect alignment with, let's say, that inner corner lash, which tends to be hard to reach. And I've got it fully attached. When I get to here, then I have to like come up a little bit and rotate my tweezer more. And then as I get to the middle, I will start to rotate the base of that lash to the left. I think it looks better against my skin, you can see it. To the left on this right eye. And that will help as I rotate the tweezer up, perpendicular to the face, to the lash line. That's what will help me to get that angle correct for all of these lashes. So from the middle to almost the outer corner, by rotating the lash inside the tweezer to the left and rotating my tweezer up, or maybe a little bit at an angle here, I'm able to get all of those lashes. Once I get to the outside corner here, I can rotate it even more and then put my tweezer, don't have it up so much, bring it back down, and my hand is still here. The brow would be here, and my hand is still behind the brow, technically, even though I might be on the side of the face. And then I have the perfect angle to get on there. If you were on their cheek or you're using your nail, I see this all the time, you have these dagger nails and then you're holding that, using your nail to stabilize. That is uncomfortable for the client, and the bigger chance you're going to have bad retention. It's a greater chance. I like the odds in my favor all the time. Now, when we go to work on the left eye, if you've been in my class, you know I tell you to slide your wrist up, rotate the tweezer up. Then for the inner corner, you're going to rotate this lash inside the tweezer with the base going towards the left. And that is going to help you get perfect placement on those inner corners. And this is what I will hit your little hands if I see you doing this on their nose. Do you see? I see this all the time. This can never, ever, ever happen. If you are resting your hands on the client's nose, it is very uncomfortable. You know how I know? Because they come to me. When they say, the last girl, she always had her hand on my nose, it was so heavy. Or if you're a man, you have heavier hands potentially, and you don't realize how heavy your hands, that they are that much heavier, and you have them on their nose. It hurts if they've had any kind of nose surgery. If they've had any kind of surgery under their eyes, or fat injections, or fillers under their eyes, and now you've got your hands on them, that's really not advantageous for the client. This is very uncomfortable to get to the inner corner. You just keep their head straight, and you have to do the work of rotating your tweezer up, really taking that lash and tilting the base towards the left. Bring your wrist up, rotate the tweezer up, and then place. And that works till you get to about here. And then, like I said, towards the middle. And then once you hit that middle, you have to move your wrist up more. Rotate this lash so the base is now facing either straight or to the right. And you might want to, you see how much movement I can do with this tweezer? It's almost like chopsticks. And now I can place this lash there almost all the way to the end. When I get to about a quarter of the way to the end, I'm going to slide my wrist up more, and boom. By angling the lash within this tweezer and rotating my tweezer up, I am getting perfect placement every single time. And I'm not on top of their face. I'm not contorted. I see people contorted like this, or like they can't really figure it out, or they got it like this. And as soon as you're coming from underneath, do you see, I can't even do it. It hurts my wrist a bit, but do you see how you're the chances of you getting this little lash to come in and perfectly just fall on top of the lash for the bases to match is almost impossible. So remember, you're going to always work from behind the eyebrows. Rotate your tweezer perpendicular for many of the lashes. Slide your wrist up, especially on that left eye, and rotate that lash in the tweezers from left to right based on how you need that lash to be applied perfectly and evenly.